Hello, everybody watching and listening, and welcome to the Callahan Fusco Audio Network. My name is Christopher A. Fusco, and I'm going to be your host for our new episode of REDMIC, our newest show on the Callahan Fusco Audio Network discussing insurance litigation and topics surrounding the industry. One of the most recent topics that's been coming about, that's been very prominent in the state of New York especially, is its auto insurance reform recently that has happened, and none other with me to discuss this topic today is the managing partner of Callahan Fusco LLC and my father, Christopher G. Fusco. Hi, Dad. Welcome to the Callahan Fusco Audio Network. Pleasure to have you.
So nice to be here.
I know it is nice to be here. We've been trying to do this for a while. So I know. So before we get into the topic, we got to kind of update everybody what we've been doing. We're not in the same place anymore. Obviously, the background is different. So what happened?
Well, we have moved our office in New Jersey, and now we've from Roseland, New Jersey to West Orange, New Jersey. People are around. They got to check out our new digs in West Orange. We're also relocating to 115 Broadway, New York City.
New York. That's right.
That's going to happen July 1. We're very excited about it. You're going to do more about this.
Yeah, we're very excited for the New York office. The New York office is going to be really cool. We've been on that for a while, I would say. So now having like a full spot in New York is going to be really, really awesome.
Yeah, it's a great location too. It's right near the courthouse, right near the PATH station, and the subways are right there. So it's downtown, but it's great.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So before we get into the details of what's been going on in the state of New York, can you give us like a 30-second rundown on what you've been seeing?
In terms of the auto?
Yeah.
So recently, the state of New York tried to do more of a sweeping tort reform, like they did in Florida a couple of years ago. In Florida a couple of years ago, they lowered the statute of limitations from 4 to 2 years. They cut off certain avenues of claims. They also changed it from a pure comparative to a modified comparative state. They did all of that. It was effective immediately. In New York, that's not exactly the way it happened. And Florida affected all lawsuits. In New York, we're just talking about changes that they're making to auto policies. And that's what's going on in New York. So it's a different kind of thing, and it doesn't take effect right away.
Right. So you recently posted that these reforms are a good first step. Why do you say that?
Well, because for a long time, this was not doable. This was not going to happen. But we've kind of gotten to the perfect storm in New York where you have a governor who's running for re-election, and affordability is a big issue. Everybody's talking about it. So insurance has gotten more and more expensive in New York. One of the things they saw in Florida, since you know is that we have a place in Florida also,
right, is
that some of the premiums have come down. In fact, some people have gotten refunds from their auto insurance premiums. So they're trying for the same idea in New York, and it's just kind of the perfect storm of something had to get done, and something did.
That's interesting. So you mentioned something called the 90-100 rule. Let's start simple. What exactly is that for the people listening?
So this is where the reforms kind of take shape. In New York, the idea was you weren't supposed to have an auto claim,
right,
in an accident unless you have a serious injury. And they defined the serious injury a lot of ways. And they said you know what's serious? Death.
That's pretty serious.
So that's permanent. That's right. Permanent. Fracture, a loss of a bodily function, organ, things like that are serious. Mm-hmm. But then they put in one little sentence that said it could be non-serious if it affected you 90 out of 180 days post-accident.
Okay.
So that sentence of being non-serious for that period of time swallowed the rule. So everything would fit into that category. And it did a couple of things. One, there were no claims that could not get over the threshold, basically. It was pretty easy to plead and do. And second, it made it really difficult to get summary judgment for defendants in that case. So taking that part out may be a big step in help strengthen the defendant's hands.
Right. So why is that rule such a big deal in New York exactly, other than what you've just said?
Well, because that was a big part of the tort reform in New York. And that was the part, like I said, that swallows everything. And it made it very difficult for defendants to get judgment in their favor because you had this big exception. So you had everything you really would want. You have death, dismemberment, fracture, loss of a bodily organ for serious injury. But then you have something that says, well, except for everything else.
Right.
Basically what it came down to. And then, then it wasn't working.
So is that what you were talking about when you said in your post that you said you called it code for we have no rules?
Exactly what I meant.
That's kind of, okay.
Exactly what I meant. If you can just plead it, you're going to get away with it. And then, it's going to, again, you want to win on emotion in a lot of these cases. And that makes it really difficult.
So was the issue that people were abusing it, or was it the rule itself just too vague?
Yeah. I mean, the rule was like, it was as a dream. If you're on the plaintiff side and you want to bring these cases, you're going to plead it to a certain way to get into that, 90 out of 100 day rule.
Yeah.
And they did it. And, a lot of times the judge would expect to see it and then would not get summary judgment, you would not get a defense verdict at trial. And eliminating that, I think, is a substantial step for the defense.
Got it. So now that the rule has been eliminated, what changes for plaintiffs, insurance carriers, and defense attorneys do you see happening with the change coming in?
Well, remember, as new policies renew, it's going to kick in. So if you got a policy that's new, it would kick in. As your policy in New York renews, it will kick in. So it's not necessarily effective yet. And hopefully for everything, it's going to narrow the scope of auto claims. It's going to make it more manageable. The one thing I would keep an eye on the defense side of things is severity. So remember, it's for permanent serious claims. So for plaintiffs to sustain those claims, they have to have serious injuries. So while we're happy that like the exception is kind of gone,
right,
or it's going to be going away in time, we have to be mindful that other more serious injuries are now going to start cropping up with more time as a way to balance it.
Great. So the second major piece you highlighted was comparative negligence. What is comparative negligence in plain English for somebody who, like me, who isn't an attorney? How would you define that?
So, and this is a common thing in a lot of states. In New York, the past rule was you could recover for whatever percentage of negligence that the defendant had. So if you have a case, Christopher, and it turns out that it's 99% your fault, but 1% the defendant's fault, you could recover for that 1%.
Right.
Plus interest, which is 9%.
That's not too bad.
Now, if you are the tortfeasor, if you're the person who's more responsible than the other person, it's only auto right now, you're out. So that is a change. Now, that is the law in New Jersey. That is the law in Florida. That is the law in Connecticut. So it's not like it's like a seismic shift in the law in the country.
So this isn't something that's new?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's just now we're going to have modified comparative with auto only. So remember, these changes are only for auto. By the way, I think that they're going to challenge the court on that issue too, but that will be a change.
So how did New York handle this prior to the change?
It was what's called pure comparative, meaning that you can recover for whatever percentage of liability the defendant has.
Got it. So what changes specifically under the new law?
Well, like we talked about, the 90 to 180 days rule will come out. Modified comparative negligence is now a part. So if you cause the accident, in other words, you're not going to recover. That's a big change. So all of those things are going to help out. So
with that all being said, who do you think is going to benefit the most from this change? Is it going to be the plaintiff side, the defense side? Is it going to be, the plaintiff, or is it going to be the defendants based on what you know so far?
I mean, there are other caps they put on for people who commit crimes and other issues in there. I think that the intended goal is that it's for the people who buy policies in the state of New York. They're going to be the beneficiaries. Because hopefully this is going to lower the cost of insurance, auto insurance. Forget the lawyers for a second. Forget the court system. Well, the idea is to lower the cost of insurance for people. Maybe even get them a refund at the end of the day. So that's the idea of who's going to benefit the most.
So will this affect settlement values and litigation strategy, do you think? Or do you think not much will change on that front?
Well, going forward, let's just say when the changes are in for everybody, it's definitely going to cause the defense side to be more aggressive with motion practice, more aggressive with summary judgment, saying the plaintiff can't carry the burden of having a permanent injury. That's going to happen. So that's definitely a change.
Got it.
Now, the question is, when you have changes in the law, sometimes, believe it or not, like the judges might be a little behind the times on this. we're going to have to educate the court system too about what this means.
Got it. So one of the selling points behind these reforms is lower insurance premiums. Do you think customers will actually see lower rates?
All I can tell you is that when they made the changes in Florida that we talked about before, that has happened. And I can tell you that our personal rates have gone down in Florida since that has happened. So hopefully if it gets implemented and it's done the right way, yes. Yes. Savings.
Yeah. So when I read your post on LinkedIn, you pointed out that these reforms don't take effect immediately. Is that important, or does that not matter as much as some people think it will?
No, it's really important.
Okay.
It's super important because, like I said before, it only takes effect when your policy renews or if you get a new policy. So if your policy doesn't, if you just paid your premium and your policy doesn't renew until next year, it doesn't affect you until next year.
Okay.
So we're talking about, in theory, a year or so before this is fully implemented in the state of New York.
Right. So are these reforms bringing New York closer to other states that do this already? Or do you think, because working here, right, we talk about New York a lot and how like some stuff doesn't make sense when it comes to New York. Like even I have heard that. So do you think that that is going to bring them closer or not really?
It's just, like I said, it's a step. It's a step. Now, I'd like to see comparative negligence for all cases. I'd like to see tighter standards on summary judgment. I'd like to see more reforms in New York. But this is more than I think that it's going to come down the pike for a long time. It's certain other laws that not affecting auto that I think need to be revisited, which would be more effective and save the taxpayers a lot of money. So that's the idea. Again, it's not necessarily about the lawyers. How can like everyday people who are struggling to pay their bills save money, and have more money for food and rent and all the other things?
So you said also that there's still more work to be done. I guess you did just touch on that, but like if you had to add stuff to like your wish list on how you want this to go, what would you add?
I would have liked it to become effective immediately for everybody. The other thing is I think that the statute of limitations in New York is 3 years. That's too long. It should be shortened to 2 years, which they did in Florida, which is also the law in New Jersey. So why isn't it 2 years? Should have been 2 years. That may be the next step. Who knows?
So 5 years from now, how will we know if these reforms actually worked? Is it going to change anything?
We'll know by the cost of premiums. If the people's premiums are coming down in New York, like we said before, then we will know that it has been successful. Hopefully, there'll be more steps between now and I hope more than a 5-year period, but that's how we'll know. It's the dollars and cents. That's how we'll know.
Great. I mean, this sounds all very interesting, but thank you so much for joining me. So this is our first episode, and we want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments and all of our other, social media. So make sure you guys follow us. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you drop the follow at the same time on Spotify. We're going to have a lot more guests. I'm sure my father and the managing partner of Callahan Fusco LLC will be back. Thank you so much for joining me.
I have a postscript question for you.
Okay.
All right. So since the rumor has it that you're going to your first NBA final game next week, Game 3 at the Garden, have you thought about what jersey you'll be wearing?
Jalen Brunson.
You for sure? You sold up?
Absolutely. Jalen.
You're not going OB?
No, I'm not going to OB because Jalen is Jalen. Jalen is the reason why we are here, and he's my favorite player. So I'm going number 11.
All right, not going to change?
Not going to change. Also, Nixon 5.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dad. I appreciate you.
All right, bye.